Hey guys, today what I have for you is two really underappreciated rifles right now on the military surplus market. That is a Swiss G11. This is the long rifle. And here I have the Swiss K31, the carbine. So right now, these two rifles are still kind of being imported. You can still find them on some websites for sale for, like retail. And you can definitely still find them on the used market. What I think about these rifles is that they are very similar, very sort of comparable rifles, and each one sort of fits a role maybe a little bit better than the other one. So if you're maybe trying to decide which one of these to buy, and you can only buy one for whatever reason, I mean, if you can, buy both. But if you can only buy one and you are kind of needing some help on figuring out which one, or if you just want to know which one is better, then I hope this video can help solve that question for you. First off, the first difference that you can sort of tell with these two rifles is that the barrel is much longer on the G11, and you can sort of tell just by the nomenclature. Usually the older guns were considered rifles if they had a really long barrel, like something like a 30-inch barrel, and they were considered carbines if they had a barrel like just really not that much shorter than that, like 24 inches. That they consider that a carbine, whereas sort of a cavalry carbine would even be something shorter, which would have like a 17-inch barrel, something like that. But as far as the military nomenclature at the time, it's a rifle and a carbine, even though we both sort of consider these rifles. So the G11 has a longer barrel. In fact, the barrel on this is 5 inches longer than the K11. So we all know that a longer barrel means that you have a greater potential for accuracy out of a longer barrel. You get more powder burn, you get more efficiency out of a cartridge. The cartridge is just going to perform better out of a longer barrel. So you have that. The G11 barrel is just the GP11 ammo is just going to perform better out of the Gewehr 11. So you have that going for this rifle, whereas you lose some velocity with the K31. Now, how much that really matters in the grand scheme of things, like how much is that really going to mean as far as just what a person can do looking through iron sights on both of these, that's debatable. I personally think that doesn't really matter that much, but G11 does have a slight edge in barrel, so you have a better accuracy potential with the G11 over the K31. Also, the sight radius on both guns is something to think about also with the sight radius. Now, they did improve the sight radius a lot with the K31, and I'll show you what I mean. So with the K31, they have the rear sight is all the way back here. The actual notch that you look through is as far back to the receiver as just about possible. And then the front sight is all the way up here at almost the very tip of the barrel. So they really stretched out that sight radius to kind of give you every little inch of sight radius that you could have with this. Now with the G11, you can kind of tell they didn't care so much about the sight radius. Because the rear sight is actually here. It could kind of be pushed back a little bit further, I think, but they kept it here for whatever reason. They probably just thought that what it's at now is just fine. And the front sight is to right here, which means that the front sight really could have been pushed a little bit more, but it was probably long enough. It was good enough. Now I'm going to measure both of these out here and give you the total sight radius of each. So first off, the K31. The sight radius it's about 57 centimeters, so 22, little under 22.5 inches. And on the G11, it is 64 centimeters, or 25, almost 25.25 inches. So by choosing the K31 over the G11, you're giving up almost 3 inches of sight radius. Now the longer sight radius doesn't necessarily mean that the G11 is going to be more accurate. Longer barrel, longer sight radius does not necessarily mean that, but it definitely helps. It really helps with the accuracy potential of the rifle. So you will be potentially more accurate with the G11 than with the K31. Probably so close though that it might not matter. But if you can get a longer rifle, if you can, stand carrying one or shooting one, or whatever, it is going to be probably more accurate for you. Now the trade-offs, of course, for the longer barrel, you have increased weight, you have increased overall length. It's just going to be it's going to be harder to carry this rifle around. You're going to make sure that your rifle cases are long enough for it and everything. It's going to be a little bit more of a hassle than having a shorter rifle like the K31. Also, to go along with the, it's going to be harder to carry around. Specifically, the 2 sling placements on these rifles is going to be a pretty big difference. So as you can see in my hiking with firearms video, I hiked with the Swiss K31, and I really like the side sling location of it. I really like side slung rifles a lot better than traditional under sling rifles. I think with the side sling, it just presents a nice flat, even profile to your body, and it's not uncomfortable. You can carry these around for a much longer time without it being uncomfortable. However, the G11 has their traditional sort of undersling. So if you're going to be carrying this against your body, this part of the rifle, your back or whatever is going to be against this, meaning that the trigger guard is going to poke out, the magazine is going to poke out and stick in you a little bit, and it's just not going to be as comfortable as carrying around. So with the additional length weight, you also do have a not as good of a sling on this gun. So now, even though the G11 has a longer action length, it's because it uses the more traditional Schmidt-Rubin design. Even though it's longer overall, the actual bolt pull is shorter. So what I mean is that amount. So the amount that the bolt goes back out of the receiver is actually shorter on the G11. So this is about 9 centimeters that this actually pulls out from the back of the rifle. So every time you shoot it, it's 9 centimeters back, 9 centimeters forward. So that adds up if you're going to be shooting a whole lot. And with the K31, the length of pull is actually just over 10 centimeters. So you're having to pull this backwards and forwards little over 2 centimeters more for every shot with the Swiss K31. Now, how big of a deal is that? Probably not a big deal at all. It is just a fact that I found with this that I haven't seen anyone else talk about. So I thought I would just let you know that the Swiss K31 does have a longer bolt length of pull. So one of the things that you get with the Swiss K31 over the G11 is that the action length is much shorter on the K31. So not only is the barrel shorter, the barrel's about 5 inches shorter, but the action is shorter itself. It's about 3 inches shorter. So what that means is overall, the rifle is 8 inches shorter. So the sort of length savings in the receiver of the K31 does save you an additional overall 3 inches on the rifle. So that's another benefit too. You're not just saving the barrel length, you are saving receiver length. And also weight. This is about 1.5 pounds lighter than the G11, and it doesn't. 1.5 pounds doesn't sound a lot, but carrying one around, shooting one for a long time, it's going to matter if you carry one of these around long enough. Now, if you don't carry them around and all you do is carry your rifle bag to a bench and you shoot it at the range on a bench and you don't really do anything, probably not going to matter so much to you. But it is a big benefit of the Swiss K31 that it is lighter, and it matters if you carry one around like the guys did. Another cool benefit of the Swiss K31 right here is that it has these little ears that protect the front sight, and the G11 does not. It just has a exposed front sight leaf. So another thing that I found just kind of handling and shooting these rifles is that the K31 is definitely the smoother action. It's like glass, really. I mean, it's just a really smooth action. It's just amazing, really, honestly. It's pretty amazing. Now, the G11's not bad, but I could definitely feel a little bit of resistance in it. I have to pull it, yank it back a little bit harder than the other ones. You can kind of tell like something's kind of fighting against you whenever you're working the action on the G11, whereas I don't feel any of that with the K31. Granted, this could just be my G11 right here. Is a stiffer one. Maybe you know, other ones on the market are not so bad, but I'm just working off a sample size of 1 here. So I'm going to go ahead and generalize that the actions are smoother on the Swiss K31s. Now, the sight settings on the 2 rifles are very different, whereas on the Swiss K31, the rear sight starts at 100 meters and goes out to 1,500 meters. And the rear sight on the G11 starts at 300 meters and it goes out to 2,000 meters. So this is a little bit more of the norm of what rifles were back in the early 1900s. Whereas the minimum sight setting on a lot of rifles was about 300 meters. That means that you do have to take some things into account whenever you're going to shoot this at closer ranges at targets. Generally means you have to shoot under. So what I did was I set up a human-sized target at about 50 meters, and I did not aim at like a dot in the middle of the target. Instead, I just sort of aimed for general center of mass because I wanted to see the sort of real-world difference of the 2 rifles, and it was shooting GP11 ammo out of both of them, and see, you know, how dramatic the sight setting makes your hits at 50 meters, and see if it was really a big deal or not in combat. So there you go, guys. I hope you learned something from the video. I hope that this can maybe help you make a purchase decision between the 2. I appreciate you watching. If you would please subscribe, that really helps me out, and I'll see you next time. Wonderful. You're awesome. There you go, just one more time with that one. Sweet. Okay. Nice. Which one did you like more? First one or the second one?
The first one.